Hey everyone, this is Jordan from Sleeklens.com, and in this video I'm going to show you how to take this product shot and actually make it look like it was taken in a studio. So we're going to use a little bit of gradient tools, and it's going to be very, very simple. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing we need to do is actually remove the wine bottle from the white background here. It's going to be really simple with this one because it was shot just with a plain white background. So I'm going to get my magic wand tool here and I'm going to click on the white parts, and as you can see I get a really nice selection of that wine bottle, and I know I'm not going to need the background again, so I'm just going to click the delete key and that will take away the white background, and now I have the bottle on its own background here. Okay, so now what we need to do is actually make it look like it was shot on some sort of table here. So I'm going to make a gradient that goes right around this area, from about 40% gray to about 10% gray down this way, and do another one in the top here. So I'm going to get a blank layer here, and I'm going to get my rectangular marquee tool right up here, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle out roughly around here. And now I might want to make it a little shorter. I'll bring it down a little bit more. And when you have a selection, you can't actually transform the selection until you tell it to transform. So the way you do that is actually right click on the selection here and you choose transform selection. That will give you these little handles here, and you can drag the selection down. So let's put it right there and we'll click enter. And now we'll get our gradient tool over here. And as you can see here, the foreground color is, again, like around a 10 or 20% gray area here. And then my background color is a tad bit darker, so I'm going to get it right around this area. And I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click below the selection and drag up. And what that's going to do is give me a darker section at the top and a lighter section at the bottom. Now, I kind of think this one is a little bit too dark up here, so what I'm going to do is just undo that. And I'm going to drag it roughly around there. So it's still dark up here, but I have a little bit more white down here at the bottom. So that's kind of what I want. So I'm going to go up here and just get my, click Command or Control D to deselect that. And I'm going to make a duplicate layer now. I'm going to go down here and duplicate that layer. And I'm going to transform this layer. So what I'm going to do is click Command or Control T to transform. And I'm going to drag this all the way up to the top. So now pretty much the whole image is gray. So now what we need to do is actually get our wine bottle and move it above these two layers that we just created. So I'm going to click and drag that up. And now we have our wine bottle there. And what I need to do is take this middle layer here now and drag that below. So now it looks like there was a table there, has a nice crisp edge here, and we still have the gray background feathered a little bit, showing a little bit of gray in the background. So that's kind of what we need now. Okay, so one really cool trick about creating a spotlight back here to make it look like it was kind of lit from behind is actually get a regular circle here, and we're going to make sure our color for this is white. So I'm going to click the D key on my keyboard, and that'll change it to the default colors. And now I need my foreground color to be white, and I can actually select the X key, and that'll change it to white. So now what I need to do is draw a big circle out here, covering roughly most of the bottle. So right there, looks good. All right, so now what we need to do is feather this. We got to feather this like crazy just to get that really nice blur. So I'm going to go to Filter, go to Blur, and then Gaussian Blur. And it's going to ask me if I want to change it to a smart object. So I'm going to go ahead and click Yes, Convert to Smart Object. And now I can blur it like crazy. So here's a little bit of blur, not a whole lot. It looks really fake. But then now we start blurring it out, and we have a really nice highlight in the background. So that's kind of cool. That's how it typically looks in kind of a studio setting, is you have that nice little highlight in the background. Okay, so now what we need to do is make a small little reflection here just to make it look like it was the tabletop was a little glossy. So I'm going to take my bottle layer, I'm going to duplicate that layer, and I'm going to click Command and Control T, and I'm going to right click here and choose Flip Vertical. And now I can just drag this down, and now it's going to look like a little bit of a reflection. And I'm going to go drag it roughly here. There we go. And I'm going to zoom in, move the reflection layer that we have, and move that below the main bottle layer. And now I can get a layer mask, put a layer mask there, and choose a black brush, a very feathered black brush. So if I go up here, I have my hardness set to 0. So I'm going to get a very feathered black brush, and I'm just going to do a couple swipes across the screen, holding the Shift key to make it level. So I'm going to hold the Shift key, and there we go. Do another one, and we'll do another one right there. So now it looks like it has a nice little reflection there. It looks pretty cool. If it's a little too much, we can always take the opacity and drag it down a little bit to right there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and make a quick shadow for the bottle. So I'm going to go right here, create a layer in between the highlighted layer and the reflection layer. And I'm going to get a black brush again. So I'm going to click the D key on my keyboard. And I'm going to go up to my brush panel, and I'm going to kind of squish my brush down a little bit. It's going to be, these handles here allow you to change the roundness of your brush. I'm going to go roughly around there, and that's going to give me a brush that kind of looks like this, kind of matches the shape of the bottle. So what I can do is just click once right here, and now I have a little reflection there. So I don't really like the placement of that one. I'll shrink it down a little bit more. And I'll go right there. Now that looks better. So if it's too much still, we can always do the opacity, shrink the opacity down there. It's not going to add a lot to the image, but it still adds a little bit of realism there. So there we go. It looks pretty good. That's pretty much how it would typically look in a typical studio setting. So now what we can do is actually apply a color to the background. Any color we want to, we can apply to the background. So I'm going to make a hue saturation layer. I'm going to go down here to the adjustment layers, and I'm going to click hue saturation, and I'm going to make sure that hue saturation layer is right below all of our bottle layers. So here's our main bottle layer, and here's our reflection layer. It's right below those two, and I'm going to click the Colorize button, and now you can see it changes all of the darker gray color to a nice color of any of your choosing. So I'm going to go, let's go crazy with it and go with a nice kind of aqua. We can darken it up if we wanted to, keep it light. And there we go. So that looks pretty good. If the highlight is still too much, we can go to the ellipse layer and just kind of darken that a little bit with the opacity. There you go. It looks pretty good. All right. So let's look at a before and after here. So this is our before, and then this is our after. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed that really simple technique for creating a studio look with your photos, especially if they were shot on just a plain background. Make sure to check out Sleeklens.com for more Photoshop tutorials, more Lightroom tutorials, presets, actions, everything there you can find. Now, this has been Jordan from Sleeklens, and I'll see you in the next video.